Alright, hello. My name is Aaron Wilson, and this is my PCC2 project for Full Sail. This is a orc of a rig. Um, I did the rig, and Quest Matthews, I'm going to give him credit for the sculpt of the character. Okay, so a couple of things about this character. He is a biped, and he has IK and FK switches for both arms and both legs. For my advanced project, I did a face rig on him. Okay, so he has a sword and a shield, and some dynamic cloth and stuff like that. We're going to get into that. It's going to be pretty fun. Okay, so first things first, with the spine here, he's got a little bit of a fall off with his controls here. It helps give like a really good line of action. But if you're really not satisfied with the pose, you can really refine it here. We've got some spine control, sort of a level of detail thing. So if you're not really satisfied with what you've got, you can really get in there and fine tune. Okay, moving on to his, let's go ahead and turn these off. Spine control. Okay, moving on down, he's got FK and dynamic driven cloth here, so we can grab these FKs and drive them around, and let's just get like let's just do this one first here. Drag it up like that, just so we can see what's going on here. We've got a blend of a dynamic here, so we can put this at 5 here. And now the bind joints are going to follow the FK halfway, and then the dynamics are going to take over the rest. So we can let our dynamic flow here. And if we go ahead and just blend this all the way to 10, now the clothes are completely dynamic. You can control the stiffness if you want to as well. Let's just move him around so you can see that they're dynamic here. So we can see them flowing around. Okay, let's stop our interactive playback. Let's go ahead and put this back to FK. And let's go ahead and bring him back to 0 here so we can move on. Okay, so with his weapon and his shield, we're going to move on to that now. His weapon and his shield are both following his hands at the moment. And we have a follow world, follow hand switch here so we can blend into the world. And now the sword will follow the world and the hand has no effect on it. The same with the shield over here. So if we take the shield, we can turn it to follow world. First thing I'm going to mention here is that the icons for the hand are kind of hidden by the shield, so I have some additional shapes out here that you can grab. So here's the IK, we can move it around that way, and this fist here lets you know that he's holding on to the shield right now, is sort of an indicator that instead of the open palm, he's got a fist. And we've got all our finger controls just like we do on the hand here. So if we just grab these, we can mess with his fingers a little bit, so we can pull on the handle of it or whatever. So let's just go ahead and make this follow world now. So notice how they disappear. They're no longer holding on. He's no longer holding on to this shield because now his hand is going to follow it. So the shield isn't going to follow the hand. So let's take a look at the shield here. So now that let's go ahead and look at some of the accessories, if you will, on the shield. We've got some cut off orc heads here, kind of cool. Let's look at what we got here. So we've got control over the positioning on these spikes, so you can get a little bit of some overlapping action. It's going to be really cool. I'm going to show you some dynamics here in a second. So we've got these arrows. You can pivot them on for some overlapping action, or you can say, I want them to follow the world instead, and you can blend between, of course, and then we can drop the arrows on the ground if he, like, I don't know, runs into. Oops, yeah. So it'll follow the world. And so with this orc head, he's a little bit special because he has a jaw. So I decided that I'm going to add a little bit of a dynamic thing to him. He's got FK control over his jaw, so you can animate just the jaw if you want. But we've got a dynamic switch here, so we can turn that on. And now, of course, we can blend between, but let's do an interactive playback. And what we can do with this icon now is we can kind of use that to use the dynamics. But of course, the dynamics are not just off of that icon. So if it's moving the shield, we can move the shield around. Oh, let's get this right here. Shield. All right. Move the shield around, and if the jaw moves around now. So it's a dynamic jaw. It's actually a pretty simple setup. So let's go ahead and bring this back. And you can control the stiffness just like you can with a cloth. Okay, so moving on, let's go to his feet now. Of course, he has IK/FK switches for both of his feet, so we can turn that on. We've got a fully FK system here. Let's bend his knee a little bit here. Let's look at his other foot. So we've got foot roll on this one, heel toe. All the standard foot roll controls that you would see. Yeah, so that's really about it with the feet, and with the IKs, of course, we get the pull vectors, so we can control that. Moving up, this is also another sort of an overlapping FK dynamic cloth that we can grab. We can turn that into a dynamic. That dynamic is actually in the hand here, so we can come to the bottom dynamics instead of it being on an icon on there, so we can control that way. Moving on up, so we've got his clavicle, shoulder, scapula control here. Some neck controls. Let's go ahead and take a look at his face. I'm actually going to go into Viewport 2.0 and kind of show off some of these normal maps that we got going on here. Let's turn on some lights and some shadows. Make this look real nice. Okay, so let's go ahead and give our 2-panel layout here. So we're going to bring up our face controls camera. And I left the translate Z axis open. That way we can zoom in on the controls here if we want. So let's go ahead and zoom in on the face. I'm going to start with the eyes. So the eyes are obviously they're aim constraint to the eye icon here. But it's a layered control, so of course you can control the eye from the GUI, and you can control the eyes from the icons here in space. So let's go ahead and get a really good close look here on his face. Alright, so a couple of things with his GUI. Let's start here with the jaw. I added a couple of subtle things here, so let's say jaw clinch. So we got, I don't know if you can see that, but there's a little bit of movement here and here, and it's a really subtle thing, but it's what happens when you clench your jaw. If you watch the muscles on the side of your head and your jaw, it actually moves a little bit. So that subtle things are really good for animation too, when you start fine-tuning things. All right, again with the subtle things, let's look at his eyes. So we've got some eyelid action here. Let's open up his eyes really big so we get some bottom eyelids. And he's got pupil dilation, so this is kind of cool. So we can dilate his pupils. All right. That's pretty nice. All right, going on to the rest of the face. So we've got brow controls here. Let's just go ahead and give it a little bit of a pose. So we got some other face controls here. So we can control these, kind of bring up his teeth, or bring up his upper lip, and bring down his bottom lip a little bit. Let's open up his jaw. So this jaw control goes straight down and side to side. So that's how you control his jaw. With this is his tongue control on the side here, so we can bring his tongue up and down. But over here we've got a little bit of some finessing here, so we got some curl, left and right, in and out, so he can stick his tongue out. Let's go ahead and close his mouth here. All right. We got some other phono motion here. So we got E and O. Let's go ahead and zero these out so we can see what those look like. All right. So we got E. Let's get some E action going on here, and O. E and O. Those are really important for lip syncs here. And we got lips in, roll in, a little bit of correction there, and then we got some pucker. So there's that. Um, let's zoom in here a little bit. Okay, so we got our mouth control. This slides the mouth around on the, pretty much just slides the mouth around on the face, all as one group here. So it's, there's that, and you can pose the mouth as you wish. These are all additive shapes to get your pose. So we can really kind of just pose him a little bit here. And then of course you can grab this and move his lips around if you want. Open his mouth a little bit first. It's all an additive thing. Alright, just get in here. We've got, you're not going to see it because it's all in pose now, but we've got some cheeks puff. Let's go ahead and zero out these controls so we can see that. So we can grab these icons here. We got some cheek puff, and there's inwards if you want to have them do the little suck his cheeks thing in. Yeah. And also with this options here, we got a couple of options. We got face refinement icons, and this is going to be really helpful for when you're really not satisfied with the pose that you're getting. This is giving you direct control over, let's turn on our geometry mask here. This is giving you direct control over the joints. So if you don't like what's going on with the posing that you're getting out of the GUI and it's just not working for you, you can really get in here and, you know, pose his face manually if you want to do it that way instead. Like I said, this is direct control over all the joints, so just do that. You can move his facial tissue around a little bit. Yeah. And then the other option is, let's check that out. We can turn those back off again. The other option is the unlock option. So if you're not satisfied with where this GUI is within 3D space, we can go ahead and unlock it. And you can see that the little lock changes to tell you it's unlocked, and we've got this bar here, this box here that we can move around. And the camera stays dedicated to wherever the face cam over here stays dedicated to wherever the positioning is of this. So yeah, that's about it for the orc. He's a pretty fun character. I had a lot of fun with him. But yeah, it's been a good time. All right. Thanks for watching.